All right. Well, good evening, everybody. It is Tuesday at around 7 p.m. Eastern. And here we are again for the Unity of Livonia, a Course in Miracles study group. So let me say welcome to everybody. I hope your week's been good so far. Mine has been good so far. It has not been cloud free, but thank goodness I've learned to keep my peace, because I've learned that clouds are temporary. They come and go. It is a phenomenon inherent here in level 2. So I'm good. I just give them the attention they're due and don't get too involved with them. And I just stay above the battleground. And it works out really well. And I don't burn up that energy I used to with anxiety as though, oh, it's a catastrophe. So I think I just want to say, the key word with A Course in Miracles is always gratitude. And I am so grateful for the Course and other spiritual teachings that have taught me how to live my life more peacefully and joyfully, no matter what the situation. So, are any of you feeling that way? Are you able to keep your peace more? And yeah, I don't get pulled into all the ego trips that I used to. I'm not perfect at it. I guess, as the Course would say, I'm not perfect at it, or you wouldn't be here. But I'm holding my own, and it's getting better and better. And guys, I hope you feel that way too. Is there anything anyone wants to say before we get into our study? Yeah, Sue?
I just want to say something. I'm blessed in that I could keep balance or my peace most of the time. But of course, I'm very saddened. And in mourning, as everybody knows on this call, I'm Jewish. And it was barbaric what happened in the Gaza Strip. The Gaza Strip was given in a previous war. It was given to end the war to the Muslims and to the Arabs. And I have friends who are Muslim, by the way, and they're wonderful people, but they feel the same way I do. And there are now over 2,000 people dead, and there are 2,300 who were tortured and maimed, and there are over 200 kidnapped. And they came in and they destroyed children, they destroyed infants, and it was just barbaric. It wasn't an attack, because these people were peaceful people. And so, I mean, it's happened to other religions, it's happened in other areas, but I put prayers out and I just say, never again. I don't care what you are, what your religion is. It should never happen to anyone. It's barbaric, and we're better than that.
Thanks for your comments, Sue. And I certainly agree with where you ended up in saying we're better than that. But I don't know, we were talking about this last night also on ACIM Talks. And I know for me, somehow the Israeli war that's broken out somehow feels even closer to home than the war in Ukraine, although geographically, I don't know if that's true, but it really hit me hard, uh, more from the perspective that there's so much big chaos going on all
Mhm.
at the same time. I'm always, I did the practical spirituality workshops and saying now is the time to give love a serious try because nothing else seems to have worked. And seem to be on the brink of some big event.
Yes.
That's what's being said over and over in everything I'm listening to. And they're expecting that this is coming to the United States.
Yes.
They're expecting it to happen, but it'll be on the grid. And and I'm shocked that they didn't know about this because 5 years ago, I remember hearing about tunnels being dug.
Mhm.
And and Israel gave them this land, and so they dug tunnels to destroy Israel. And I don't have an answer for it, but some people are barbaric. That's all I could say. This, I mean, I don't know how you destroy and maim and rape and torture a kid, let alone an adult.
Well, they
And
have
Yes.
they have no regard for life at all. These
Well,
people.
I heard you say you don't have an answer for it. I think I have an answer. I'm not alone. All we need is love.
oh, well, I
How
know
do you
this.
convince so many
And
people to calm down? It would take a miracle. The only thing is, I believe in miracles. I study miracles. I do a course in miracles.
right, I believe in miracles too. But if I was sitting there and I had to watch my child being raped, tortured, and murdered, I don't know what my response would be. I
Uh,
have no idea. And I've done a lot of forgiving in my lifetime, and I believe in it strongly. But
yes.
these people actually watched their loved ones being tortured,
Mhm.
and it was deliberate.
Any other comments to what Sue is saying? How
And
you
yes, I believe
feeling?
in love without a doubt.
Say that again, Sue. Sorry.
I believe in peace, love, and healing. And you can't deal with this by turning your other cheek. I don't believe in that. But I do believe that the altitude of our attitude in the United States itself, let alone every place else, has to change. How the media presents itself has to change. And each one of us make a difference in this world. It's not one is alone and not powerful. One is the power of the whole. And so when one changes, when one gets involved, then you've multiplied it by millions. And I go back to the 100th monkey syndrome. And that's what I see.
Well, I'm sure we can't belabor the discussion tonight. I would just, as far as my comment, I believe I have a solution, and I think there are millions, maybe billions around the world that might give love a try. The problem is we need to connect and organize. We need to join together with a solution to bring it to the table. For those that attended my last workshop, there are 330 million people in the US, and we'd have to join together to get some stuff moving. But even that's only less than 5% of the world's population. The problem of scale is so enormous, it probably take a miracle to move the needle to get enough momentum going. It would take a miracle.
Well, let's all see that miracle.
I'm seeing it, and despite appearances, I believe in miracles.
Me too.
Maybe you have to get pressed down really hard to rise up. And when I say rise up, I don't mean rise up with fighting. I'm talking about rising up with a common sense message that love works better than hate. Consistent love works better than hate. And if you don't believe it, we've been trying this war stuff for how long? Is it working? So I just would appeal to people's common sense about what works and what doesn't work. Anywho, that's not really spiritual or religious, is it? Anyhow, more comments and we'll move on. I thank you so much for your comments, Sue. I think they're appropriate for where the status of the world, at least as of today. It's a lot of pressure on people, all this stuff going on. And even if you're not involved physically, think of all the mental suffering that's going on worldwide. So again, I appreciate your comments. Thank you. Anybody else before we continue tonight? Any other comments? All right, y'all went speechless already, huh? I told you I'd take that as a compliment. Why don't we get started on our agenda tonight? And I brought in a video that I thought you might find of interest. Do any of you know Earl Purdy?
No.
Never heard of Earl Purdy?
I don't think so.
Earl Purdy is a Course in Miracles teacher. He's been teaching the course for over 40 years. He lives out in Colorado. I haven't met Earl in person in many years, but we used to share the stage together on a few conferences and that back in the day. And so I wanted you to see Earl's approach to teaching A Course in Miracles, if that's okay. Now, as usual, when I show a video, I can't show all of it, but I thought maybe I'd show you about 10 minutes of Earl Purdy teaching A Course in Miracles, okay?
Sure.
Excellent. Let me share screen and get set up here for a video recording. I'll close out some stuff here. And I have to talk to myself, okay? It helps me move through all of this. Here we go. My friend Earl.
Earl sent a message. Earl, Greg sent a message that he loves you.
Well, good. I'm glad to hear. I'm glad to hear that. Just hang in there, folks. The ego is busy this morning, as usual. So, that will have to do. Welcome to the Course in Miracles. This is Earl Purdy here on Facebook Live. And I'm looking forward to hearing some sanity. It tends not to be the regular conversations that I hear in the world. So we're gonna talk about trust, and we're gonna continue with our lesson about trust and trusting other people, and trusting our brothers. So we're gonna start out with that, and we're gonna start out with our theme song, which is "I Am Not a Victim of the World." I see. I am not a victim of the world. I see. I'm not a victim of the relationships I have. I'm not a victim of my finances. I'm not a victim of my career. I'm not a victim of my relatives. I'm not a victim of my friends. I'm not a victim of the world. I see. So let's hit it. I'm not a victim, say what, of the world I see. I'm not a victim, say what, of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of what, of the world I see. Even if it looks like it. I'm not a victim of the ball, I'm not a victim of my fall. I'm not a victim of events, circumstance at all. I'm not a victim, say what, of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. Cause what's happening now is what I've done to me. That includes the good stuff. I'm not a victim of the future, not a victim of the past, not a victim of anything that seems to keep my life. I'm not a victim of the world I see. What's happening now is what I've done to me. And it's good stuff too. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim of the world I see. I'm not a victim, no, of the world I see. That's right. All right, so we're going to be on lesson 181. I trust my brothers who are one with me in the Course in Miracles workbook. And trust is a big issue for most people. You know, the Course in Miracles says the reason why it's hard for us to trust people is how untrustworthy we've been. So there's a part of us that thinks the same thing could be done to us in terms of how we've done others, because we have not always kept our word, and we haven't always done what we say we're going to do the way that we say we're going to do it. So since we have ourselves not always been trustworthy, then there's a part of us, he says, that is not trustworthy when it comes to other people. And if you want to, first of all, I got to do the guidelines always, because it's the attitude, especially if you're here for the first time. If you want the Course in Miracles to be something that's a lot easier to deal with, then you need to realize that it has its own rules for how you study it, which is different from the way that we've been taught, which is, first of all, to remember you need not believe the ideas, you need not accept the ideas, you need not welcome the ideas. Some of the ideas you may actively resist. Some of the ideas you will find hard to believe. Some of the ideas might startle you. You're not being asked, love how he says that, you're not being asked to judge. You're not being asked to analyze. Because it's not like the Course in Miracles isn't true unless you believe it. It's not that something isn't valid because you don't agree with it. So you're not really being asked to analyze the ideas. He says, it's using it that will show you that it works. So you can analyze the Course in Miracles all day long, but it's until you start to use the Course in Miracles that you recognize that the Course in Miracles works. And the Course in Miracles works primarily at the mental level, the perceptual level. It works at the mind level. It's a course in mind training, thinking training, giving us another way to look at it. So if you're going to transcend your doubt, and if you're going to transcend a lack of conviction in yourself, what is it that you need to do? You have to learn how to trust others. Course in Miracles says the way that you transcend doubt in yourself is learning how to trust others. So whenever you're angry at somebody, whenever you're attacking somebody for any reason, you are saying this person is limited by the way you're looking at them. Whenever you're angry and you're attacking anyone, you're saying this person is limited by the way that you are looking at them. Whenever you're angry at the person or attacking the person, you're saying that this person is limited by the way you are seeing them. And it also says, if I'm focusing on the thing that I'm upset with you about, I'm not going to look past it. Because I'm going to focus on what I'm angry about if I'm angry. So if I have a limited perception of you and I'm upset with you, then I'm not going to look beyond your errors. Not only am I not going to look beyond your errors, do you know that what I'm going to do is magnify your errors? And then that becomes a block to me seeing the real you, the loving you that's beyond the upset that I'm projecting on you. Then you won't be able to see beyond your mistakes, because if you get in the habit of focusing on what you perceive to be somebody else's mistakes, your mind is going to automatically do the same thing with your mistakes. Because your mind is always, according to the Course in Miracles, it says your mind is going to apply to you what you're applying to everybody else. So if I'm focusing on your mistakes and your errors, and I'm focusing on what I'm upset with you about, then I'm not going to see the you that I could love and I could have peace with beyond what I'm projecting on you that I'm upset about. Everybody with me? Okay, let me know if I lose you, because if you're upset with me, then you're looking at some limitation you're projecting on me. So you won't see the real me. You're going to see the thing you're focusing on. So then it says, I'm doing a quick review from last week, that what's the one true thing about perception? Well, he says, well, perception has a focus. Whatever you perceive is what you're focusing on. If I'm perceiving this mic, what am I doing? I'm focusing on it. If I perceive you, I'm focusing on you. So perception is the same as focus. So what you perceive is what you focus on. What you focus on is what you see. So either you're going to be focusing on things that make you feel peaceful, or you're going to focus on things that keep you upset. Those are the only two focuses that's happening. You're either focusing on what makes you feel separate, or you're focusing on what makes you feel one with me. I'm either focusing on what makes me feel separate from you, or I'm focusing on what makes me feel connected with you. What you focus on, do you know that what you focus on is what gives consistency to what you see? So if I'm constantly focusing on what I'm upset about, I'll see something to be upset about consistently. If I focus on what gives me peace, then I'm going to see that consistently. Change your focus, what's going to happen? He says, well, what you see is going to change automatically. So as soon as you change your focus, you don't worry about what's going to happen on the outer, because what you perceive on the outer is going to automatically change as soon as you change your focus. So you don't focus on trying to change everything and everybody outside of yourself. You change what you focus on, and then what you see will change automatically. Everybody still with me? All right. Depending on how you're feeling in this very moment is being determined by what you're focusing on at this very moment in your thoughts and in your perception. So nothing you're upset about has anything to do with what you think you're upset about. The Course in Miracles says one of the workbook lessons is, I'm never upset for the reason I think. You think you're upset because of something you wish was different that was happening outside you, but you're really upset because of the meaning and the focus that you're giving on it. It's not the thing that's happening in the world that's upsetting you. It's the way you're interpreting what's happening in the world that's upsetting you. You better still with me. Okay, I'm keep on checking in. If you change your focus, then what you see changes, then your vision will shift. And so
Hello, people.
Hello.
Hello.
I hope you enjoyed my friend Earl Purdy. And welcome, Dee. I'm glad you're here.
Thank you. Happy to be here. He's
Yeah.
always a hoot.
Yeah. I'm showcasing the Course in Miracles teachers. Last night at ACIM Talks, we featured David Hoffmeister. So tonight I thought I'd introduce you to Earl Purdy. As I mentioned before, he's from Colorado, maybe Denver, and I don't know. I know Earl from back in the day when we both were on the same podium for conferences and things like that. What do you think of his style?
I obviously didn't see this, but he usually is bebopping around.
Yeah. So y'all know what, I think I know what you mean by bebopping. Or maybe you want to tell us so I can make assumptions.
He's usually jamming to music
Yeah.
while he's talking.
No.
Yeah.
I used to teach on internet radio station called ACIM Gather. I did that for about 5 years. Have y'all ever heard of that?
No.
Well, I used to do a 1-hour show on ACIM Gather. And I don't know how long Earl was on or if he was just a featured presenter periodically. But there are a lot of Course in Miracles teachers, and they present the Course in their own unique style. But if you listen to what Earl is saying, he knows he's been teaching the Course for over 40 years, and it shows. So if you don't like a bebopping approach, you won't get to see how insightful this gentleman is and how much he has to offer. But I think we're all doing our parts and we all have our audience. And I'm just happy to share with whether it's David Hoffmeister or Earl Purdy or other Course teachers. We kind of feel like it's a high calling to share this truth that we've run into. So that's why I brought it tonight. Any other comments? He was talking about one of my favorite lessons, 181. I trust my brothers who are one with me. And do you remember what he said when you see something untrustworthy that your brother apparently has done? What did he say that was, according to A Course in Miracles?
It's a projection of my own inner world.
Yeah. So it's like reverse. What you see on the outside is merely a reflection of what you want to see.
Mhm.
And while that can get confusing, it does point to what powerful beings we are, doesn't it?
Mhm.
The power of thought is what I'm talking about. I mean, thought has to be really powerful to manifest on the outside, and you think it's, I used to think it was real. And I found out, no, Jim, it's all about you. What you see on the outside was conjured up by what you projected from inside, right, Frank?
What I see is what I am.
And so I'm reflecting on a song of prayer, which is what we're gonna get to. One of the statements in the song of prayer said something like, if you think you need to pray for your enemies, you've got it twisted. You need to get help for yourself, because what you are seeing are projections of what you're thinking. Comment.
Well, I think it makes a great deal of sense because I'm not talking about Israel now, because that's entirely different. But in my opinion, it's a projection of who we are and how we think in the United States. It's definitely a projection. But I look at when I meet somebody or I'm upset, like probably everybody on here, I look at where it is in me.
Yes.
And it's very interesting because where I am today with the close friends I have, it's a group of people that project. They're not all like me, but they are all like me in some ways. So they project me. And that can be very good because it gives you an opportunity to see who you are. And if you like what you see, that's great.
Yeah. One of my early spiritual teachers, one of her messages that resonated with me is, she said, if you think you're planting corn, but tomatoes are coming up, you could not have been planting corn. Maybe you thought you were planting corn, but if you want to see what you were planting, look at what's coming up. So maybe you had good intentions on getting a crop of corn, but if you're seeing tomatoes grow, you may need to make some adjustments in what you're planting. Does that make sense?
Oh,
Yeah, it's a
sure.
good way of putting it.
Okay. Cause and effect is the most fundamental law there is. Every effect has a cause, and every cause has an effect, or else it's impotent as a cause. You with me? Isn't that why we always want to know why?
Right.
Aren't we always trying to get to the cause of things? So if you want to see the effects of a cause, look, you're getting tomatoes, not corn. Oops, back to the drawing board, right? So the people that used to be your enemies are some of your best friends because they become barometers of what you're putting out. Isn't that what Earl Purdy just said? Is that helpful in your day-to-day life?
Well,
If
just
you
what you get.
if you don't have enemies, who are these people? The ones you used to think were enemies, okay, they're not enemies, so who are they?
They're me.
Frank, all right. So I won't belabor this. We'll get back into our studies in that. Any final comments before we get back to the song of prayer? Are you feeling good so far? Am I raining on your parade? Because my ego loves to have enemies. So my ego used to by now is really sulking around, but he knows not to get in my way anymore because I'm in control. My ego is very powerful, but it's not like it can't be managed, especially by a being as powerful as me. So I'm good. How are you feeling?
Good.
All right. Then why don't we get into our study tonight? And we are on page, let me find it here. I've got us on page 5 I'm sorry, page 3 in the Song of Prayer and starting at paragraph 5. Does that sound like where we left off to you? Okay.
I don't have a paragraph.
So I've got to do the readers. Sherilyn, would you
Paragraph 5 would be on page 4.
pardon
Yeah.
me?
We'd have to be on page 4
Page 4.
to read.
No, I'm on page 5, praying for others. Do you see it?
Yes,
And we stopped after paragraph 2.
okay.
So tonight we start on paragraph 3. How's that sounding?
Sounds better.
So Sherilyn's our first reader.
Okay.
Janet is not reading. Hilda, are you not reading?
I am not reading.
Okay. Is there anyone else not reading?
Two.
Then I'll tick off the list here. I've got Sherilyn number 1, Kathleen number 2, Frank number 3, Sue number 4.
No, I'm not reading.
No.
No
So-
reading. I don't have that book. I have only this book.
Okay. Yes. So I have Frank number 3, Joan is 4, and D is 5. How's that? We happy campers or
Sure.
on our way to it? All right, Sherilyn White.
Okay, paragraph 3, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. At these levels, then, the learning goal must be to recognize that prayer will bring an answer only in the form in which the prayer was made. This is enough. From here, it will be an easy step to the next levels.
Let me interrupt here just to
Okay.
get us all on the same page. What was Jesus talking about before paragraph 3? Do you remember?
No, not until I look again.
All right. It says, hey, God, could you do me a favor and smite this person that did this to me? Hey, God, could you get rid of all my enemies for me? Wasn't that the thrust of paragraph 2? Or
Yeah.
was it 1? Okay. Paragraph 1, sentence 5. the poisonous thought that he is your enemy, your evil counterpart, your nemesis, must be relinquished before you can be saved from guilt. You with me? Okay. So if that's a proper quick introduction, let's go back, Sherilyn.
Okay,
And you were on paragraph 3, maybe start at sentence 3 and keep going,
yes, let's see.
unless you're comfortable doing that.
Well, I'm not sure that we,
Just
Well,
start over then at 3.
at these levels, then, the learning goal must be to recognize that prayer will bring an answer only in the form in which the prayer was made. This is enough. From here, it will be an easy step to the next levels. The next ascent begins with this. What I have asked for my brother is not what I would have. Thus have I made of him my enemy. It is apparent that this step cannot be reached by anyone who sees no value or advantage to himself in setting others free. This may be long delayed because it may seem to be dangerous. Instead of merciful. To the guilty, there seems indeed to be a real advantage in having enemies, and this imagined gain must go if enemies are to be set free.
Kathleen, why don't you read 4 and then we'll go back and cover 2 paragraphs.
Sure.
Maybe it'll make more sense.
Guilt must be given up and not canceled, nor can this be done without some pain, and a glimpse of the merciful nature of this step may for some time be followed by a deep retreat into fear, for fear's defenses are fearful in themselves, and when they are recognized, they bring their fear with them. Yet what advantage has an illusion of escape ever brought a prisoner? His real escape from guilt can lie only in the recognition that the guilt has gone. And how can this be recognized as long as he hides it in another and does not see it as his own? Fear of escape makes it difficult to welcome freedom, and to make a jailer of an enemy seems to be safety. How then can he be released without an insane fear for yourself? You have made of him your salvation and your escape from guilt. Your investment in this escape is heavy, and your fear of letting it go is strong.
Wow. That's good to me. Comments? Paragraph 3 and paragraph 4. Somebody want to take a shot? What's he saying? If someone's telling you the truth, but you refuse to believe it, what's he saying is going on with you? What's causing your refusal?
Fear to see it in myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, fear to let go of the notion that you have to be responsible. Because on a relative scale, it gave a lot of comfort not to have to do that and instead blame it on someone else.
Yeah. It's this whole paragraph is an avoidance to see yourself.
And we'll go to great lengths
Oh,
to do
yeah.
that. don't you remember last night on ACIM Talks, we were talking about in the 12-step program where it's very difficult to accept the responsibility that your best thinking has made your life unmanageable. You've had a lot of investment in doing that. It didn't always work out well. As a matter of fact, it came to the point where it didn't work out at all, and you're just at your wits' end and have no idea how to deal with it. And yet, along the way, think of the investment in the habit of blaming others. And so Jesus says that paragraph 4, sentence 5, his real escape from guilt can lie. Are y'all with me? Paragraph 4, sentence 5. His real escape from guilt can lie only in the recognition that the guilt has gone, not that it's been concealed somewhere. That's not freedom. That's avoidance, isn't it? Was it Dee saying that? So avoidance hasn't always worked well, but I put a lot of effort into this.
It's also transference. You're transferring what you don't want to see so you don't have to see it onto someone else.
Yes. And
Which is what projection is.
Yes.
Which is
exactly.
what Purdy was talking about in lesson 181, right?
Mm-hmm.
And which is what Charles Anderson was talking about last night in the 12-step program comparison to the course. We understand that there's a lot of perceived pain involved with giving up guilt instead of concealing it, because I've been doing that a long time. So the perception of it being fearful is understandable, but it's still not an excuse, because fear is an illusion too. If you would just step up and show some courage and some faith to do something different, I can assure you, you can get through this. But as Charles Anderson said about 12 steps, it has to be done thoroughly. It has to be done seriously. As the course says, lesson 20, I am determined to see. How determined? Determined 21, I'm determined to see things differently. Okay, you're determined, but how determined? Well, lesson 27, above all else, I am determined. That's the kind of seriousness it's gonna take to get through this, but I can assure you, you can get through it, but you can't half step through it. Y'all with me? Comments from you? We're doing paragraphs 3 and 4 and seeing if we're able to make any sense out of it. Sherilyn, you read in italics there. What I have asked for my brother is not what I would have. Thus have I made of him my enemy. But he was a scapegoat, Earl Purdy would say.
Yeah.
Is that cheating?
Yes.
Does that lack integrity?
Yes.
Does that lack honesty?
Mhm.
So that's what I'm getting out of these two paragraphs. What do y'all think?
Mhm.
Yeah. Makes sense.
All right. So I got at least one makes sense and several heads nodding this way. That's good enough for me. Kathleen, we're on paragraph 5, please.
Oh,
Oops.
I just
Oh,
read.
that's Frank. I'm sorry. Paragraph 5.
Stand still an instant now and think what you have done. Do not forget that it is you who did it. And who
Wait. Where are you?
Number 5.
F5.
Oh, I'm
Yep.
sorry. My page flipped over. Okay. Say that again. Go ahead, Frank. Sorry.
Stand still an instant now and think what you have done. Do not forget that it is you who did it and who can therefore let it go. Hold out your hand. This enemy has come to bless you. Take his blessing and feel how your heart is lifted and your fear released. Do not hold onto it nor do not hold on to it nor unto him. He is the Son of God along with you. He is no jailer, but a messenger of Christ. Be this to him that you may see him thus.
So thank goodness I saw the tomatoes come up, because they could have been a great help to me to make an adjustment, right?
Mhm.
Instead of being pissed off because I couldn't see corn come up, I took the tomatoes as a correction, right?
Right.
Do you see how differently you can see the situation if you're willing?
Mhm.
Thank goodness I got to go back to the drawing board instead of asking God to kill that dude. It just depends on how you see it, right?
Right.
Do you see everything is mental?
Mhm.
So if everything is mental, what's the body?
Projection of my thought.
Just like everything else that's happening all day long. Now, don't play it cheap, okay? Because this is a large scale, powerful thing that's going on. So don't play it cheap. To paraphrase Einstein, he said, yes, the world is an illusion, albeit a very persistent one. Don't play it cheap. Give it its due, but don't be attached to it. Because reality is not what it is. It is the reflections of your power. Comment. Is that a different way of seeing things?
Yes.
Yes.
Would you have thought of that if we weren't doing A Course in Miracles together? Would that way of seeing things have occurred? It never occurred to me till I started doing the course and stuff like that.
Right.
Always, I never knew there was more than one thought system. That never even occurred to me until I started. I'm not the victim of the world I see. I invented the world I see. How many of our brothers and sisters are still under the old illusion we used to have?
Most of them.
And how much better could their lives be if they would try seeing things differently? And
Well, there would be fewer Jews killed and fewer Palestinians killed if people were able to think like this.
yes. And while, if I go, it's as hard for many to believe, but if I go strictly according to A Course in Miracles, there can't be 1,000 people or 1,100 people or 2,000 killed in the Israeli war, or how many killed in Ukraine, or forgive me, the Holocaust, from a strictly Course in Miracles perspective. How come you can't have that many people killed according to A Course in Miracles?
Because you don't die, you're eternal.
Because there is no death. But on the other hand, it is a very persistent illusion. So while there is no death, on level 2, there appears to be a whole lot of suffering. Like, all these people are getting killed. Am I gonna be next? I'm getting older. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Now, I'm not gonna die, but I have compassion like my brothers and sisters. How much do you want to suffer? Maybe there's no death, but a lot of our brothers and sisters are suffering, talking about a mental illness pandemic.
Yes.
That's so much suffering worldwide. And maybe there's something we can do to help alleviate it. If people knew what they were seeing and how things are going is because of loveless thoughts. Love thoughts would create a whole different outside, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
I'm just saying, but you know, this just Reverend Jim, you know. So I'm just trying to be honest like all of you are. Comments? If not, we'll keep going. All right, Frank, you just read, so that brings us to Joan. And is it 6 that we're on?
Yes.
All right, please.
Paragraph 6. It is not easy to realize that prayers for things, for status, for human love, for external gifts of any kind are always made to set up jailers and to hide from guilt. These things are used for goals that substitute for God and therefore distort the purpose of prayer. The desire for them is the prayer. One need not ask explicitly. The goal of God is lost in the quest for lesser goals of any kind, and prayer becomes requests for enemies. The power of prayer can be quite clearly recognized even in this. No one who wants an enemy will fail to find one. But just as surely will he lose the only true goal that is given him. think of the cost and understand it well. All other goals are at the cost of God.
What do you think, guys? Ladies, gentlemen?
Very true.
And yet he says it's not easy to realize that prayers for things and that are always made to set up jailers to hide from guilt. Now, I know there are a lot of you, but somebody explain that one. I know any of you can, but whoever wants to just step up and so we can keep moving on this thing, right?
We find a scapegoat so we don't have to face our own guilt.
Yeah, but what's that got to do with praying for things and status and human love and external gifts? How do they set up jailers? Because
By having external
yeah.
idols.
Yeah,
they're diversions.
yeah.
Mhm.
How about I give you $1 million instead of God?
They're replacements. That
So
whole
if I get $1 million, that'll last me a while. It won't solve my problem, but it'll placate it.
That's
So
true.
what happens is when I ask for these specific things, I'm contracting around my desires.
and what comes to my mind keeps coming to my mind is thou shalt not place false gods before me.
There's
Because
only one truth,
yeah,
whether you hear it from the Bible
Yep.
or oh God. What the first 5 chapters of the Bible, help me out.
Sarah.
The Torah, whether you hear it from the Hindu Vedas.
yeah.
Do you see how clever the ego is? I'll never give up control. Hey, how about we have you work on this $1 million, because while you're getting this $1 million, you don't have to think about what your real issue is. The real issue is I'm placing idols before my truth.
Mm-hmm.
Who has everything? Wait, what could you wish for if you have everything?
To know that I have everything.
Yes. And that is why we're all here in Earth School.
Mm-hmm.
No other idols will ever satisfy. You don't believe me? Keep trying and see if there still isn't a hole someplace that can't be filled by these things. Well, you can either have the glass half empty or half full. What kind of crap is that? Who the hell wants a half full glass or a half empty glass? Isn't that smoke and mirrors, my friend?
Yes.
He who has everything has a glass full and running over all the time. But you'll be satisfied with just a half full glass. That will never satisfy. How about 3/4 full? These are all ego tricks. Comment. So we're talking now about moving from what we've been taught about prayer into a deep discussion of what prayer is. It was a communication between source and expression that was to last forever, and in fact is lasting forever. What you believe has nothing to do with what's real. Earl said that early in this talk tonight. I don't know if you heard it. There's no correlation between what you believe and what is actually true. Right?
Yes.
So I'm going to give up what I believe eventually. If it matches up with truth, fine. If it doesn't, I'll give up belief in favor of truth. Wouldn't you?
Mhm.
Truth is at a much higher level than what Jim thinks.
Sue's raising her hand.
Pardon me?
Yeah,
Sue's
I had
raising
my
her hand.
hand raised.
I'm
Thank
so
you.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Not
I
a problem,
see on
not
the
a problem at
full
all.
screen. Go ahead.
I just wanted to share
Thank
what
you.
I see is when we concentrate on ourselves and we concentrate on self-growth and we speak to God in those terms, everything else comes to us anyway. And I have found that the healthier I am, in quotes, and I got a long ways to go, the more the whole picture is bountiful and plentiful in every direction. And then it depends how I accept it and how I see it. So it all goes back to me and who I am. There's nothing wrong with having wealth. There's nothing wrong with having a joyous life and traveling all over the world. There's nothing wrong with that. It's if you make that your God.
There you
And yeah.
And when you collapse around an idol, the constriction imprisons you and lowers your chance to access everything.
Mhm.
You will have what you need. You were not put here at random. You didn't come to Earth School by chance. You'll have everything you need to matriculate through this learning curriculum. But fear blocks it coming to you. That's how
And all
you
of
become
this-
imprisoned. Go ahead. Who
Exactly.
was that?
And much of this is part of unity that when I started unity maybe 50 years ago was taught. Not exactly, but very close.
There's only one truth. It's presented in many different forms here.
Right.
But do you see how you're able to see content no matter what the form? Do you see how our eyes are being opened to these teachings all around us? And had I never broken out of the Black Baptist Church, where it was sacrilegious to read about other religions and spirituality, I was being imprisoned by a belief. I broke it, and I'm so glad I did. I'm not mad at the Black Baptist Church because it was like I was planting corn in the Black Baptist church, I thought, but it was showing me tomatoes. Thank you, Black Baptist Church. And that enabled it to be a stepping stone to something else. You'll either get a reward or a lesson. Both of those are valuable. Thank you, Black Baptist Church. It's not what I wanted, but you helped me to find what I wanted. Gratitude is the only thing that can be in order. Is that not true for your enemies?
Mm-hmm.
Now, quote unquote enemies, because we know you have no enemies. So who were those people? Signposts, corrections in your trajectory, right? Now that you know, don't you love them? Joan, you there?
Yep.
You're not the only one with an X, so I'm not picking on you.
X?
Was that your first hubby that we talk about sometimes?
Was that what now?
Your first husband.
I'm sorry.
Was that, don't you talk about your first husband sometimes?
My first.
Husband.
Oh, yes. Oh, yes.
Terrible man.
He was.
He played his role so well. And it was a lesson. And thank God, because for all the good, the bad, and the ugly, look where you are now.
I finally forgave that man, but it took me 40 years.
Better late than never, right?
Right, right.
All right.
It's the comic strip character that said, "We have met the enemy, and it is us."
Yes.
That makes me think of that.
Yes. And you used to think that was a cartoon, right?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Or was that Holy Spirit
Mhm.
making
Holy Spirit.
offerings in all different forms, whether it's singer or a poet or a philosopher or a cartoonist? You now you're starting to see, oh my God,
Yeah.
God's plan has been going on, not just at church. I can see it everywhere now because I'm learning to discern content no matter what the form. Isn't that beautiful? Don't you feel cared for now? Don't you not feel abandoned like you're here all alone? And don't you feel now and can see that mighty companions are at work all around us? Our eyes just weren't open before and our ears couldn't hear it. Thank you, God, for opening my eyes and opening my ears. That's from the Bible, isn't it?
Probably.
Those that may know, I don't know. Comments. I don't want to belabor this more than I have already tonight. I just get going sometime. I hope it's helpful.
Definitely.
Thank you, sir. Next reader, we're up to Miss Newman, I think. And
Praying with others
yeah,
until the second level at least begins, one cannot share in prayer. For until that point, each one must ask for different things. But once the need to hold the other as an enemy has been questioned, and the reason for doing so has been recognized, if only for an instant, it becomes possible to join in prayer. Enemies do not share a goal. It is in their enmity. Oh, it is in this their enmity is kept. Their separate wishes are their arsenals, their fortress in hate. The key to rising further still in prayer lies in this simple thought, this change of mind. We go together, you and I.
So,
Where
comment, Frank?
where's she reading?
She's on page 7, paragraph 1.
Oh, right.
The section is called Praying with Others.
Didn't know we were there yet.
Yeah, we have been doing praying for others. Now we're on praying with others. You got it, Frank?
Yeah, I thought we were still on the other page. Okay.
Okay. What does the word enmity mean? Do you see it in sentence 5, paragraph 1, sentence 5?
I looked it up. I can read it.
Yes.
His state or feeling of being actively opposed or hostile to someone or something.
Yeah. I first saw that word in the story of Adam and Eve, and it talked about near the end when they saw they were naked, and from then there would be enmity between them, for he would bite her head and she would bite his feet. They'd be a problem for each other. They'd be in opposition.
Yes.
Both powerful, one at the top and the other with what looks like a more subtle power, but a power nonetheless. So women may not be physically as powerful, may not, but don't underestimate their power nonetheless, you see. At any rate, I digress again. Enmity is what's being discussed, right?
Mhm.
It is in this their enmity is kept. Their separate wishes kept them from being able to have unified goals, and thus their power was mitigated because they're working in opposition and canceling out. Comments for that? If not, I'll go to what's the point of this paragraph? What's being said before we go to paragraph 2? It starts out talking about second level, right?
Yes.
What's that? What's the first level?
Giving up thinking that the other is an enemy.
Yeah, okay. Once we get over that, now it is possible to help in prayer and so reach up yourself. I'm sorry, I'm in paragraph 2, right?
Well,
Just say how about I shut up? What anything else y'all want to say? Sentence 4, enemies do not share a goal. Sentence 5, it is in this their enmity is kept. Their separate wishes are their arsenals, their fortresses in hate. The key to rising further still in prayer is to get over that hump and come to the realization we go together, you and I. Doesn't that offer a lot more hope?
yes.
Who's our next reader then?
Are we back to the
Are we
start?
back to Sherilyn? Yes.
All righty. Now it is possible to help in prayer, and so reach up yourself. This step begins the quicker ascent, but there are still many lessons to learn. The way is open and hope is justified, yet it is likely at first that what is asked for even by those who join in prayer is not the goal that prayer should truly seek.
Mm.
Even together you may ask for things and thus set up but an illusion of a goal you share. You may ask together for specifics and not realize that you are asking for effects without the cause. And this you cannot have. For no one can receive effects alone, asking a cause from which they do not come to offer them to him.
Comments? Anything in paragraph 2? There's the cause and effect thing, right?
Mhm.
So would someone comment on sentences 6 through 8? Just sentences 6 through 8. Because isn't that where it talks about cause and
Yeah.
effects?
Mhm.
Nobody?
I gotta think about it.
Yeah. I'll wait.
Well, it says, for no one can receive effects alone. Is this where we begin to realize that we are one? That
Well,
we're
where
not
are you reading?
separate?
Where are you reading? Nobody.
Sentence 8, for no one can receive effects alone.
We'll read the rest of it.
Asking a cause from which they do not come to offer them to him.
I'm confused.
I am too. I don't know what that means.
All right, then let's go to Kathleen or Dee. They always know these things. They've been through this before, I think. Hello. Be our saviors, ladies, please. Y'all still there? Kathleen, Dee, where are you?
Oh, I can't tell.
What? Anybody? All right. Then let's read it together and we'll start to close after this. Okay. Paragraph 2, sentence 6. You may ask together for specifics and not realizing that you are asking for effects without the cause. What do you say to that one? Let's just do one sentence. So, yes.
Well, it's kind of like you're asking for something that isn't based in truth.
Correct. Yes. What are you asking for that is not based in truth?
Well,
I think it starts with an S. Sentence 6, you may ask together for SPECIFICS.
Yes.
And not realize that you're asking for specifics that have no cause. What is the cause that would make the specifics meaningful?
I don't know.
They come from God?
yeah.
So would God give you something for your little old self alone? Here, let me put it inside guru terms, okay? Desire is about you, whereas vision is about the whole. Give me stuff for me alone. You may get stuff like that, but they'll hardly be meaningful because they don't have vision. You're not alone. Why do you keep asking for stuff as though you're the only one around? Even here on level 2, can't you think bigger than that? Well, my ego can't. Gimme, 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 gimme. Well, what about your brothers and sisters? Are you asking for something that you can share? If not, you're asking without cause. That's my interpretation. Somebody chime in and we'll close out soon. Hopefully successfully completing paragraph 2. Comments?
I have to think about it more. I'll tell you next week.
Thank you. 7. And this you cannot have. You can't have effects without a cause. You with me?
Mhm.
For no one can receive effects alone, asking a cause from which they do not come to offer them to him. I'm confused with the last few words,
Yes.
but I'll stand up for my comment that asking for things, asking for effects without recognition of causation is an idle request.
Yeah, because cause and effect are one.
Yay.
It's a constant motion.
All right, so do you see how we're getting ready to boogie on out of here in some level of agreement? This was a tough night, right, my friends? A lot to think about and consider. I'm so glad that we went forward this year to look at these supplements. They're incredible writings, aren't they?
Yeah.
It's really given me a lot to think about, and I hope you've enjoyed them as well, as challenging as they are. So thank you for being here and coming out and joining us tonight. Any final questions or comments before we get out of here?
Yeah, before we close, I might have missed this, so if I did, I apologize because I came in late, but I want to send my blessings and love to anyone. I don't know if Sue, you have relatives or friends in Israel or
Yes.
anybody else here, but I just
Thank
want to
you.
extend my love
Thank you.
for what you're going through.
You know, we had quite a discussion about that at the beginning, but
Okay.
that's so loving of you to come in and add your support to the things that we've talked about tonight, right?
That's very loving and very sweet.
Yeah.
Dee.
I'm so glad the spirits have me run into such a loving family. So keep all our brothers and sisters in prayer, right?
Mhm.
I'll turn it over to Hildegard for closing, please.
The light of God surrounds us. The love of God enfolds us. The power of God protects us. The presence of God watches over us. Wherever we are, God is. I am the light of God.
I am the
the
light.
light of God.
I am the love of God.
I am the love of God.
God.
I am the power of God.
I am the power
The
of God.
power of God.
I am the presence of God.
I am
I
the
am
presence
Presence
of
God.
God.
Therefore,
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 wherever I am,
Wherever
wherever
I
I
am,
am,
God is,
is.
God
God
that
is,
is,
and
and
all is
all
well.
is well.
and
and
all
all is
is
There
well.
is nothing to fear. There is only love.
Nothing to fear.
Namaste.
Namaste.
I'm feeling good.
Hmm,
Love you guys. Keep the faith, okay?
okay.
Thank
See
you,
y'all
Tim.
next time. Good
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you,
Bye,
everyone.
Dean.
Bye.
Thank you.
Namaste.
night.
Bye.